He's doing that. Hello and welcome to Let's Be Real About It, where we are real about real life issues. I'm your host, Mildred T, and I just want to warn you that this is a no holds barred zone. Therefore, some of the contents of the show may be offensive to some, but that is not the intent of the show. And I just want to introduce you to my book tonight, uh, my book Truth and My Closet Secrets Revealed. And I also want to introduce you to my pamphlet that I wrote some years ago, Hear Me, A Cry from the Womb. And so this is what we're going to be talking about tonight because the show is about abortion. And the pamphlet, you can order from me off of PayPal. And you can just send me your name and your address and all your information to PayPal. And it's a $3 love gift just to have for the production and the shipping and the handling of it. I want to introduce you to my special guest tonight, Carlise Oglesby. And Carlise, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for taking your time to come and to be a guest of the show. Let's be real about it, where we are real about real life issues. And tonight, our subject is truly about real life issues. What's really happening in the world today for as abortion? You know, we always make the statement. Like Black Lives Matter, which Black lives does matter. All life matters, and especially the babies that's not yet been born. Their life matters, you know, as well. And it took some years for me to get to that point to realize that their life mattered too.
Mhm.
So, in introducing you tonight, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Carlise Oglesby. I am a divorced single mother of two boys. One's 8 and one is 11. I should have 3 kids, which is why you're letting me here tell my story. And that child should be 15. I'm from a small town in Northeast Georgia, born and raised. Both parents lived in the home. I've got 5 brothers and sisters, 3 boys and 3 girls. Um, I'm professional, corporate career woman. I think turn an attorney, so I'm headed towards law school. But yep, and in my spare time, I love sports and I love music, and I appreciate you allowing me to come tell my story. So thank you.
Yes, yes. I'm glad that that you are here tonight because, you know, it really touched home with me because I aborted for my children. I'm a mother of 6, but I aborted 4. And it took many years for it to really hit me in what I had done. And I was reading something the other night on the internet, and it was saying, according to the CDC, among the 42 areas um, that reported abortions, it was saying um, that more than that abortions covered caused more death than cancer did in 2020. And
Wow,
I was like, wow, that's amazing.
it's a lot.
That's a lot.
Hmm.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
Well,
that is a lot. That's a
yeah, for abortion to cause more death than it says that there were over 42 million abortions occurred in 2020, far surpassing the totals of people who perished as a result of the world's leading cause of death. And it says about 8.2 million people worldwide lost their lives to cancer. So that was a lot of babies in 2020. 42 million.
that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
I think that one is too many unless it's like for some kind of medical reason that would put the mother at risk. So yeah, this is a very it took me a long time to reconcile, my decision. And that was one baby. So my heart goes out to you, because I did read your book and it was amazing. I sat down and read it in one day.
Thank you.
Just
Thank
nosy
you.
and just nosy. I wanted to know what was going on because it was familiar to me. And I think that when we um, make the decision to have an abortion. I don't know if I can only speak for me. Like, I don't know if I was completely emotional or had the mental or emotional fortitude to make that type of decision. I think it's something that we don't talk about enough as women. And the forgiveness part of how God forgives us anyway is something that we struggle with, that I struggle with to reconcile with. And I think that it's a real issue that we need to talk about more. It's a sensitive issue. I think it keeps a lot of women in bondage. And I believe that there's PTSD after having an abortion, and it's a real thing. Where you struggle with like the aftermath. I struggle with self worth. I struggle with forgiveness. I struggle with feeling like I deserve to be a mother, because I aborted my first child. I can remember sitting in a doctor's office and him telling me that I was pregnant, and I just broke down in tears. And he was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, I can't have a baby right now." And he was like, "Why not? You're healthy, you're young, and all those things I didn't consider. What I was more worried about was, would he stay with me if I kept this baby?" And so when I say didn't have the emotional or mental fortitude to make that kind of decision, I was more concerned about if I was going to be abandoned if I kept the child rather than abandoning the baby.
Yeah, because you said something as I listened to your story. You said something that was very interesting, in even how you found out you was pregnant. So tell us about that.
Uh, well, my oldest sister, was getting married, and you know how when you get married, you go get fitted for your dress, and your dress looks good, and then 6 months later, the dress comes in and it barely zits. And I was like, I've been playing basketball and exercising, so I know um, I haven't gained any weight. So I just didn't even think anything about it. And me and the father of the child were living together at the time. And I came in from work one day. He looked at me and he said, "You're pregnant." So that's how I found out. And I went to Walmart and got a pregnancy test. And it did indeed come back positive. And so that's why my dress wouldn't fit. And the funny thing, like, of course, hindsight is 2020, and so when I started like processing the entire situation, um, I thought, wow, um, he was so just like adamant about, okay, let me take care of this, let me schedule this, let me get this done. And so I didn't even have time to process the fact that I was about to be a mother, and he had already made the decision that we weren't going to have this child. And
Yeah,
so
I thought that was very amazing. That he set up everything. Once he found out that you was pregnant, he set up the whole entire thing without you even having
without
really
having a
an
conversation.
input into whether or not this is something that I really it was as though you really didn't have the time to think about, do I want this or do I not want this, because the decision was already made.
The decision was already made. Yes, the decision was already made. And I think that's another thing too. Like, men need to have real conversations about abortions as well, because some of them could be like my ex, and some of them could be like the woman, like I, or some women, I want to have this baby, but you're making this decision for me that I can't have this baby. I think there needs to be a conversation, where we can sit down and discuss the effects that making that type of decision has on the individual, because
Mhm.
each individual will handle it differently. What I later found out was that wasn't the first abortion that he had scheduled. And so that was very damaging. But the most damaging thing, I think, when I sent to you in the podcast, the most damaging thing for me, because at this point, I have to still be on my healing journey even 15 years later. Um, because I married the man that scheduled my abortion and had two more kids by him. And instead of just leaving, I thought maybe that's what I deserve. Now, my kids are beautiful. I love them. They're great. Um, But where 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 was my mentality, or where was my mental fortitude that I went back to the place and felt most comfortable in that pain, instead of walking away and deciding I deserve more than someone who will schedule an abortion for me. And then in marrying him, the baby's due date was the date he set for our wedding. And so the narcissistic tendencies in that alone was, that was probably his way of covering it all up and making it right, instead of saying, hey, I'm sorry, I made this decision for us. Yeah, he set the date for our wedding, and it was the baby's due date.
Now you stated something in the video, not the video, but the podcast. You stated something, and this is so true. It is so true in what you said. You stated immediately after finding out that you were pregnant, that you began to battle physically, mentally, and emotionally. Because here you are, number one, you 24, 25 years old, then you're pregnant unexpectedly, and physically, right there, you begin to battle with carrying the child. You begin to have nausea, vomiting, getting really
Violent.
sick, and mentally, not prepared for a child. And this is where, when we as women find out that we are pregnant, the mental aspect of it and the emotional aspect of it. What am I going to do with a baby? I want another baby. That's where I found myself mentally.
Mhm.
What am I going to do with a baby? What am I going to do?
Well, you know, for
Baby.
me, I was always that sweet little girl from, a little town in Northeast Georgia. Had one little boyfriend, a high school sweetheart that, people probably expected for me to marry. And then I get out into this world and I meet this charismatic, handsome, tall, dark, and handsome, Um, and I relinquished all my power. And when I thought that, in doing the podcast and listening to my own story, it's different when you can hear yourself tell your story. You go back and listen to it, you're like, wow, I really did that. That gave me the strength to lead, to decide I do deserve better. And in that moment, I begin to see things for what they were, instead of feeling like he made things so much better. He cared so much that he wanted to get married on the baby's birthday. But when you step outside of those circumstances, you think, that was narcissistic.
Mhm.
Who does that, And so it was a difficult process. And it's been hard to date. And I've been divorced for 6 years. And I think that just when I thought that I was okay, I find that in dating, sometimes I'm relinquishing that same power.
Mhm.
But because I could control certain things, so and that's the thing. Like, I don't know, I can't remember if I talked about in the podcast tying my tubes. I don't know if I talked about having a tubal ligation in there. I don't think I did. But because of the torture that I experienced after having the abortion, the mental torture, the spiritual torture, because I was fighting with, is God forgiving me? God, are you forgiving me? And I already had two babies. And so it's like, yeah, I've forgiven you, but I'm still thinking, no, you can't possibly forgive me. Like, this was horrible. And so when I went into have my second son, I was 37 at the time. I went in to have my second son, and I told my OBGYN, I said, tie my tubes. And he was like, you're still young, you're married. And I said, he doesn't deserve another baby with me. And I said, and I can't have another baby. And this is the only way I can be 100% sure that I won't make the same mistake twice. And so that's probably the decision that I regret the most of
So
being pregnant.
talk about the mental state, because this may be where a lot of women are right now that maybe have had an abortion.
Mhm.
They this mental state to where they're just and you know what? Let's do talk about the mental state before you had the abortion and dealing with which I know you really didn't have a decision
Mm.
in whether you was going to keep the baby or whether you was going to abort the child. So maybe talk about the mental state when you found out that you were pregnant. Yeah, talk about the mental state.
Well, my mental state before, when I look back over my life, I wasn't healthy emotionally. Um, I had, which I think is what led to me allowing him to tell me that we were going to have it, because there was not a conversation. And so, um, and that stems from other hurt and pain, that I had suppressed. Um, I had abandonment issues, because I didn't want him to leave me. So, hey, yeah, I'll have this abortion because I don't want you to leave me. Um, I had parental issues where, gosh, if this parent doesn't love me, then if I don't do what he tells me to do with this baby, he's not going to love me anymore either. So I needed to feel like I belonged somewhere. I needed to feel like someone loved me. And so, because I desired to be loved so much, by someone, I you know, just allowed that to happen. And then after, my mentality after that was, I was stuck in a place of shame. Like, shame had me in bondage. Like, I couldn't tell my story. And I think that's what the enemy wants us to do, right? Because
Yeah.
how many women would we free, and even men would be free if if we told our story. Like, no one's asking you for the details, but we want to know that on the other side of this decision, there's glory. Like, there's forgiveness, that God is waiting for us on the other side of sin to forgive us if we just, if we just meet him there. And so, even for me, like, I struggled. I did that podcast, oh God, maybe 6, 7 or 8 years ago. It had to be 8 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. And I didn't want it out. I didn't want it out at all. So I was very particular who I sent it to. And I was like, and don't you tell nobody,
Mhm.
and don't you forward it to anyone. Not thinking how many women, if they heard my story, would say, oh my God, like, I did the same thing and she's okay. Or she has the strength to go on. And I think that that's so important. So for me, like, my mom does not know. So if I share this with her, it'll be her first time hearing, and my dad doesn't know either.
I understand. I
So
understand.
yeah,
That's
so
why my book called My Closet Secrets Revealed,
that's
because these was my closet secrets that nobody knew, and to explore my closet secrets, it was going to open up my whole life, and the whole entire world would know the truth about Mildred, and I didn't want to share my truth, but
yeah.
I had to share my truth. So talk about what it was like when you went into that clinic and they took you to that room and put you on that table. What was it like?
It was like they had to give me a sedative
Yep.
to relax me. But like, no, seriously, like, I of course I went in, and like, I could, like, I think when I was talking about it in the podcast, it was super visual. And to me, it was cold and like impersonal and lonely. Like, it was lonely. So that place, I tried to, God, that place, that place that I was trying to prevent myself from going. um, and allowing him to make that decision. When I went in there to abort the baby, I found myself in that same place, lonely, with no one there. Um, and so it was a struggle. And then um, I went to they were I called one of my sisters, and I told her, I said, I'm scared and I don't want to do this. And she said, well, I'm here. And she said, I've done it too. And so, although that gave me some comfort, um, it still didn't make me feel okay. And so, at that point, I went to, they have the ultrasound, but
Yeah.
they turn it all the way down so you can't hear the baby's heartbeat and you don't know the sex. And I think I was about um, maybe about 12 or 13 weeks. And so that they put me on that whole slab, um, and put me in the stirrups, like as if I was getting ready to have a pap smear. And I could hear them talking about how hard my cervix was. And so what they did was they had to give me a pill, one to terminate the pregnancy, the baby, and then they had to give me another pill to soften my cervix because it was so strong. And
Mm.
and all I kept thinking about was, God can't want me to do this because I mean my cervix is so strong. Some people can't carry baby to term. Some people are on bed rest. Some people, some people are probably praying for a strong cervix. And so I recovered. I had to. So they did what they did, and I could hear like the suction, like, and all these things going on around me. And so I just had to shut out the noise and went into recovery. And as soon as I came out of recovery, he was nowhere to be found.
Mm.
He dropped me off and left. And he came back. And when he came back, I was sitting in the waiting room waiting for him. And he was like, I went and got you this card. And I looked at him, took the card, dropped it in the trash, and got in the car and left. And I don't know that I talked for 3 days.
Mm. Wow. I can only imagine, because I know when I went into that room. Now you just imagine I went into the room. I went into the room 3 times because the first time I was like 13 years old when I got pregnant, and my mother took me to the doctor. She didn't know. She let me go in there by myself, and so the doctor gave me this pill, and said, your cycle will start, and so the other times I went into the same dark room, girl, into the same cold room where other ladies was having the same thing, that had same procedure, and we all was there, together in the recovery part of it.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, you're laying there, or I can say that I was laying there and running through my mind, you know, whether you getting rid of this baby, you get rid of this baby. And Joyce Meyer said something that have stuck with me for a long time. She said, we make decisions for right now. We don't make decisions in some situations. We don't make decisions according to the future. We make decisions according to right now.
Right now.
And
Yeah.
that governs our whole future in some things. So, I made a right now decision that now, as I've gotten older, uh, I wish I would have had every one of my children
Hmm.
because,
Hmm.
Craig died.
Yeah.
And so it just left me with Kevin.
Hmm.
And so it's just me and him. And I think a lot of the time, if I would have had all 6 of my kids, it makes a difference as you get older. You don't think about it when you're young, the decisions that you're making, but as you age and as you mature, as you uh, gain wisdom, you realize I made some terrible decisions. But as you said, God still, I'm giving God still sits up on the throne. And
Hmm.
he know that we live in a human body and we in the flesh, and we make wrong choices. We make wrong decisions. But yet, thank God for the blood that covers us. Thank God for the cross.
Yes. Amen.
Thank Him for the blood that He shed. Thank Him that He was the last sacrifice, to forgive us of all our sins and to cleanse us from all our unrighteousness.
Yes,
Because I made some terrible mistakes when it comes to, aborting my children. I made terrible mistakes. But y'all, I want you to know that Carlise is going to be my guest next week. She's going to come back, and I want her to talk about uh, when did she make the decision that enough is enough.
ma'am.
So we want to come back and talk about that. And Carlise, I want you to give the people your information and where they can contact you or how they can contact you if they want to contact you.
Well, they can find me on any social media platform at Carlise O, so my first name, last initial, and email me at Carlise O, my first name, last initial at hotmail.com. So, yeah.
Okay. And I would love for you all to, especially if you're contemplating getting an abortion. God woke me up one morning, early one morning, and I heard in the spirit realm a baby talking.
Oh.
And it was talking about what happens inside the womb. And it is so powerful. Get the brochure. Anybody who's thinking about having an abortion, because I guarantee you it will change the course of your life. When you hear how this baby talks about uh, who's my mom, who's my dad, mama, I'm a part of you. Don't you feel me when I move? When I get tired of lying in one position, I turn to another. Sometimes I get restless, so I move a lot. I toss and I turn from side to side, trying to find the perfect spot. Sometimes I suck my thumb and cross my legs, especially when I feel loved. And it says, I cry from the womb. My voice is silent. I cannot be heard. I cry, but you can't see my tears. I moan, but you can't hear my voice because I'm a mystery in the womb.
Wow.
So please, anybody who's thinking about it, just a $3 love gift donation. You can send it to PayPal. Mildred Towns on PayPal. Make sure you include your phone number and your address so that I know where to send this. So please do that. And until next week. And also, I want to say this too real quickly. If you would like to contact me, my email address is IHURT ministries at gmail.com. And you can contact me. Let me know where you're listening at. Let me know if the show been a blessing to you. If you took anything away from it, please contact me and let me know. I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. And until next week, please may God bless you and be blessed by the Lord.